I'd love you all to dive a little deeper into your individual authorities and how they play a role. So we did have some questions about, splenic authority and Splenic projectors. So Brigitte and Tammy, you were both splenic, and Gloria, you are emotional. So can we just continue a little bit on the splenic side, and then we'll jump into Gloria for the emotional side and really talk about that experience and how that shows up and what the interplay is in real life. Brigitte, you go first.
Sure. Well, I can speak to what I've been doing over the years without realizing I've been doing it, is kind of looking into where does fear come up for me. I know that the spleen is all about intuition in the moment and knowing, the knowing, and then you have to use your strategy. Do I want to react to that, right? That's sort of the order that it goes in for me. But what I have noticed over the years, as I've come to know where I'm defined on my spleen, is it makes me anxious when things aren't flowing, because I have that 1858. It makes me anxious. It makes me anxious when people aren't doing or saying what's the, they're really struggling and pushing against things. I hurt for them. And I want to reach out and help, because that's the other end of it, is making sure everybody's happy and that they're not struggling and that they're not using their energy incorrectly. And it was knowing that instinct, that intuition caused me to get anxious, that I was able to look at it more in, that's just my wisdom. It's my wisdom, and my strategy says that my wisdom in this area will be appreciated more, and I won't hurt myself if this person recognizes that I see them and that maybe I can help them, and then they ask for my help, right? So that's how I have kind of learned to use my spleen, as I feel the fear, and then I fall back into what is it trying to really tell me, and that it's still projected. I need to be invited if it, involves someone else, right? They have to ask me so I don't hurt myself and I don't wear myself out. And then looking at the fact that I have a defined will center as well. So it makes me want to act. It makes me feel powerful. It makes me want to, live up to whatever expectations people have of me. There's all these things that I'm driven to do. And again, it's about, I'm just trying to relieve myself most of the time. Over time, that's what I've learned. I'm trying to assuage my own anxiety, my own fear in that area, and reframing it as, I am sensing things. I am here to carry the potential of other people. I feel the potential. I want things for them. I want joy in the world, but I don't have to do it all. And it's so much better when I recognize that essence, I cheer myself on and go, woohoo, look at that thing that I have that I've really learned to appreciate. And I can protect myself and take care of myself if I wait to be recognized to use all of those wonderful things. So that's how my splenic and my spleen, my authority works with my strategy. That's how I've done it.
But Tammy.
So I'm a splenic. I also self-proclaimed channel. I really do work on my intuition. It's one of my, it's what I'm here to do. I'm a seer, right? It's who I am. I am highly, highly, highly intuitive. It was a muscle I had to flex. I had to work on my intuition. The spleen is the oldest brain that we have, right? It's the oldest brain that we have to connect to. You have to build a relationship to your own sense of intuition. The way that you experience your intuition is so different from everyone else. So it's building that relationship to your intuition. Now, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm a big Joe Dispenza fan, okay? I am all about bringing everything into the now, right? Everything into the now with my spleen, everything into the now. So when I am working on my invitations, when I'm working on my recognition, when I'm feeling into myself, I'm feeling into it right now. The stronger that I have a connection to my right now, to my spleen, to my intuition, the stronger hits that I get for myself and working with my clients and working with everyone in the channelings that I receive, everything. it is a muscle that has to be built, just like my physical muscles, just like everything else. It is a relationship that you are always, continuously working and growing and receiving through life. So your spleen is you're receiving it, right? And then you're moving it through your body and determining, at this time is going to be very different from how it was yesterday and how it will be tomorrow. But all that matters is what is in the now.
Got it.
Can I add something before we move on to just really quickly about the spleen? I love what you said, Tammy, because I can feel into that. The now, I love that I can sense and recognize that. But that took time again, right? It's all a part of the deconditioning that we're doing. And it's not like we get up every morning and go, okay, I'm going to decondition this. I'm going to say, no, it's happening. It's happening as you are practicing your strategy and you are learning about human design and you're talking about human design. And the other thing I wanted to add is the spleen is also a feel good. A defined spleen feels good to open spleens. It's yummy. It feels like we've got the answers. We're saving you. We're going to row the boat to the other side. We're going to get you there safely. It actually attracts people. People like to be around defined spleens because, I don't know, it just feels really good to them. So in terms of will invitations come, I'm a believer that if we just have all these people around us that are appreciating us in this way, invitations will flow from there. Just wanted to add that.
Can I just say one more thing about projectors and the spleen? Okay. It's in the now, right? And when we have a defined spleen, people tend to hold on to us longer than necessary. We're here to create impact, right? Change, transformation. And it's not long lasting. I find that people burn out from me. And I love that, right? That's fine because I burn out from people too. So it is in the moment, but it's not necessarily to be held over time because that is going to create a codependency and a burnout from both individuals.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Awesome. Gloria.
Yeah, I just want to say it feels so good to be here with these fine, spleen people. Defined. And so emotional authority, I have the long individual wave, the 3955 that goes all the way up to the point of ecstasy and then goes all the way down to deep angst, anguish, melancholy, and the blues. And you don't always know where you're going to wake up. You're going to wake up feeling like, oh my God, it's horrible. And it's like, where did that come from? You can't identify anything specifically. So yeah, part of that long emotional wave is having access constantly, to going on this roller coaster. But you can be very discerning and not let it control your life. Now, the emotional wave is the opposite of the spleen. We are not in the now. We are not designed to be spontaneous. It can be incredibly aggravating to, our splenic relationships that, well, yes or no. Yes, that's just going to work for you. Not. It's like, I don't know. There's so many things that I can't know. I mean, if you're going to ask me out for ice cream, I don't have to think about that. But here's where emotional authority is really effective for you. When it comes to asks of your time, your energy, and attention that are going to involve a big commitment, something that you're going to step into that is going to take over your life, going to take over your routine, is going to define when you wake up, when you go to bed, what you do during the course of the day. That kind of thing, that kind of ask of your time, energy, and attention is where the long emotional authority, well, some are short, but my long one is going to go like, wait a minute. The mistake that you can make in making a commitment is if you're at the higher end of your wave and it's like everything's blissful and feels good and ecstatic. Sure, I'd be happy to do that for you. Oh, that sounds like fun. And then a couple days later you go, oh my God, what did I commit to? So with the long emotional wave, just acknowledge that you're not energetically designed to be at the moment, to be in the now, unless it's to go out for ice cream or to pet a kitty. But something that's a big ask of your time, your energy, and attention, you better sit on it. You better wait. And if it feels like a good, appropriate thing, if it's an acknowledgement, also, it has to be an acknowledgement of your unique capacities, what you have to offer, so that once you engage in that thing, you're also going to gain a lot of energy because you're flourishing, because you're being who you are, you're doing what you're supposed to do. That's a really important thing. So if it's a big ask, your time, energy, and attention, sit on it, sit on it. If it feels awesome when you're deep in the blues, and something inside of you is saying, I wanna, then you do it. But never in the now, never, no.
Yes. As an emo, I get you, and I hear everything you say. There is a tremendous desire to want to just respond, for me as a sacral being, but also sort of the get it off my plate next. And I think that that's what you were saying, Gloria, it's just such an important, the waiting and the patience and the feeling it out is so vital, because it can swing in either direction. How would you describe your clarity through the emotional process versus, jumping into something and you realize later,
Well, that clarity came over time as I became familiar with what was really going on, with how I am able to discern and make decisions that are correct for me. At this point in my life, basically, if someone asks me to do something, I don't have to wait out my wave anymore, because I'm so in touch with my vitality, and I know what it is that I have to offer, that I'm automatically going to have an emotional reaction that's going to say, yeah, that's for me, that's good for me. I don't need to wait a week, 2 weeks, etc. So I've developed this clarity only over time, only because as I responded to strategy and authority, and then eventually transcended that, because I know myself so well that I don't have to take a long time at all.
That's embodied wisdom right there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes. Oh yes. And I mean, I love what you've all been highlighting, throughout this. And just two things I'll pick out when I got all really excited a little while ago. And Gloria, you coming back and reaffirming that, that's a sacral experience and perfect in and of itself, but not the projector experience, right? That's a very different experience. And that's what I love about human design, is really giving us the ability to recognize and honor we are truly unique beings.
Mm-hmm.
We do not operate the same way, right? Sometimes it could be a default going, well, that's how I operate. Wouldn't it make sense for everybody else to operate that way? And no, actually, it wouldn't. And I think probably be a very boring world if we all operated one way. And, Brigitte, what you're talking about, the trust, right? Trusting oneself. I think that's really probably a message we haven't communicated enough about what this whole exercise is for, right? The whole experience of learning systems, learning your design, really experimenting and practicing with it and getting down to that, how does this show up for me at an individual level? And, in Tammy, what you're really talking about is flexing your muscle in honing a gift that you have, but also letting people recognize that just because you have that gift doesn't mean you just kind of close your eyes and it's there. So I'll just compare it to an Olympic athlete. Somebody might be predisposed to exercising a great gift, right? Which could be athletic ability, but if they don't train every day, they're never going to stand on that podium. right? And so for you and your channeling and all that, it's even a reminder for me. Sometimes it's always been that assumption, wow, they can channel. Well, they're lucky, you know, that's what they can do. And it's easy to say somebody is lucky based on a certain gift when you don't really understand that there's, I would say, not just, I mean, work or practice or talent, you know, but there's honor involved in honing that.
And owning it, right?
And owning it.
And owning, like it took me a long time to get out of my woo closet. Like I am weird. That is awesome. That is perfect. That is okay. Took me 42 years to own that.
Yeah, I definitely.
And can I add something about the other aspect of getting clarity? Because you were asking Gloria about clarity. That word jumped out at me, and I was thinking, I'm just wondering about other people's experiences with clarity and speaking. Right? There are some authorities that really get clear the more that they speak out loud to others, right? And the question happens sometimes that, well, if I'm a projector and I don't have a lot of relationships and I don't have a lot of connections, can I speak to myself? Can I use myself as a sounding board? And I'm always curious about that. I always encourage people to look around, go back in history, find the people that they really, really felt heard by, the people where they didn't feel like their voice was restricted, people who could, the person might be a generator and busy multitasking, but they're listening and giving you this opportunity to speak. And did you feel complete afterwards? Did you feel heard? Did you feel satisfied afterwards? And that's another way of really learning to embody who you are and getting clear about who you are and getting comfortable with who you are and getting answers about, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Oh, that's the invitations I love. Oh, this is, you know, and even when people ask us sometimes, well, how do I use my design to find the right career? I love it. I love that, Gloria. I love it.
You don't have somebody to talk to? Talk to your stuffed animals.
That's great. I love that.
They'll lift you.
And rub their belly. And I don't even know what I was going to say after that. Now I'm like,
or record it is another way. Like poor Marla, I have to say, like there's some times where I'm like, blah, 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 because it just comes through me and I need to get it out. So I just grab my boxer and poor Marla's got like a 5-minute message of craziness.
That's okay. I throw that back at you. We're boxer buddies. So I mean, that's not right too, boxer buddy. And I can now I am not speaking from the projector experience, strictly from my experience as an emo man gen, but I know I'm not clear when I'm leaving a message about an idea I have for Tammy, and I'm like, wow, as I'm speaking these words, they're not resonating. They're not sitting well with me.
Yeah.
I haven't ironed out the details, or as I speak this, it doesn't feel good. You know, that's how it comes out for me, just like I said, from my experience. But, you know, we're talking about also, we don't have on the panel any mental projectors, but definitely that sounding board, you know, experience of talking things out. And
the residents of their essence, that's what I call it, the residents of their essence. They have to connect to the vibrations of what it is they're speaking. So it's not even like them thinking in their head, it's like connecting to their voice and just letting it flow, and then all of a sudden something hits. And it's through vibration, like sacrals, it's through the vagus nerve, right? We all experience the vagus nerve, whether we're sacral or not, but it is the vibration, right? It is that resonance that we truly do connect to.
Can I add about that too? The clarity piece of it is, I am not a mental projector, but I do have a defined head and a defined ajna, and defined throat, and it connects to nothing. So it's just kind of me, like in this loop in my head, and it needs to go somewhere, right? So for me, in the past, it was always my dad. My dad was always like building something, painting something, and I'd come down and just go, and I can feel whether, like you said, Marla, I can feel in my speaking if there's a resistance or I can feel like just keep going, keep going. Nowadays, I can literally start doing that with people and go, you know what, never mind. I literally figure it out so much, like something comes back. There's an energy about hearing your voice. And I wanted to also add about Voxer. With my projector clients, I offer them Voxer. All my clients want to be able to pick up the phone during the week and say, hey, Brigitte, like I have noticed that need, right? So I do offer Voxer, but I don't necessarily answer them. I give it to them as a place, like Tammy said, you know, just go for it. Imagine you're speaking to me, play with it, see what it feels like to you. And many of them have really taken advantage of that. And by the time they come back to session, they're very clear about their next move, right? They've processed it somehow out of themselves and they didn't have to wait for me. Because at present, they don't have anyone maybe that understands that projector need yet, or they, you know, or not close to the person who did that for them, and they have to reconnect. So those are the two things I wanted to say. Even having a closed head and ajna makes you, you know, and you do need to get that out as well.
Yeah. Even though sounding board is not my authority, I can say I have really experienced the value of using that technique. Because like I said, I mean, there are things I'll speak to Tammy. Tammy's like, and as I'm speaking, I'm like, ugh, right? And I'm like, either I don't have the clarity or this doesn't feel good. And I'll be like, never mind. You know, and just like, you know, I need to come back to this. And as an emotional authority, redigest, reprocess, what have you. But I definitely think it's a valuable tool. If people listening haven't used it yet, it definitely is valuable to use.
Can I add one teeny weeny thing? Teeny weeny short.
I just want to check in on time. Is everybody okay to stay a few extra minutes? Because we are going, okay. All right, okay. Great. Yes, please.
With the closed head and ajna, what I've noticed is a lot of my clients are open ajna, head and ajna. And those are actually, like we just really flow, because I may say one thing and then they'll grab it and blow it up, and then it comes back to me, and then I say something and then they grab it and blow it up, and we become this really creative machine. And that helps me because my head gets stuck in this sort of one way of processing and I can't see anything else. And talking it out, if I happen to be around some open heads and ajnas, I'll get some really fun things that come back to me, and then I'll go, yeah, you know, yeah, I'm seeing all the angles now, and it's not going to work. So I just wanted to add that.
I just wanted to quickly respond to Maureen. That sounds so much like self-projected. How do they differ? It is the same. I can say self-projected. We're talking identity center, you know, G center being the authority versus mental projected. But I would say that their process of speaking it out and resonating with it follows a similar pattern. So yeah, Tammy. And then
I just wanted to adjust, talk about projectors for a moment, in the fact that we've been shut down out of our throat, right? So many of us have been shut down because as kids, we talked a lot. we were bossy. We talked a lot. That voice got shut down. And this is why I also use Voxer as well, because it's so important for people to start feeling powerful in their voice again. You know, reflexing that, you know, that part of you that you didn't feel invited or recognized to speak. And so you stop speaking and you stop connecting to yourself. So whether you're mental, whether you're ego, it doesn't really matter. We all, it's wonderful when we can start connecting to loving the sound of our voice, loving the way that when we talk, how it makes us feel. Because how many of us, you know, went out, said something really stupid, and then it kept playing in our head, right? And we start judging our voices, or we start judging our guidance, or we start judging ourselves. And so it is so important for projectors to really start empowering their voice in a healthy way, even if it's not giving guidance or talking to someone else, but finding that relationship to your own voice and loving it again.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking for one of you to respond to Tatiana's question. She posted this earlier. Can you please talk about the ego heart authority for a projector? I've found different definitions and it still is not clear. do one of you want to run with talking a little bit about ego authority or will center authority? I'm guessing it's will connected to identity center. That's what I'm guessing that would be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Gloria, do you want to take that one? I feel like I've spoken quite a bit.
So the question is, what is it? How does it feel?
Yes. Can you please talk about the ego heart authority for a projector? I have found different definitions and it still is not clear. So no specifics on what is or isn't clear, but could you talk from your wisdom about being someone who is a projector with ego or will authority?
So the will center being connected to the identity center. The magnetic monopole energetic crystal is sitting in that identity center. That's one thing to remember. None of us, no matter what your type is, no matter whether or not your identity center is defined, have this magnetic directive GPS device that if we listen to it, if we follow it, and it's in the identity center, right? And it said, it will tell you, this is for me. This is not for me. If you're not clear, you step in a little further and you check it out. But that magnetic monopole is not going to take you where you're going to be devastated, where you're going to be burned out, where you're not going to be recognized, where you're not going to be able to be who you are, do what you want to do, study what you want to study. The will center becomes ego authority when it's connected to the identity center. Both of those centers are the heart center. So what you want to do is listen to your heart. Just listen to your heart. Get out of your head. Don't pay attention to what others have said about who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, what church said, what school said. Get in touch with your heart. Sit with that. And your heart will tell you whether or not something is correct for you. That's your authority, your heart.
I want to add so many of ego authority, they question whether they're lovable for who they are. And it really is connecting to who I am is. Who is your I am? What is your I am? And do you feel confident, strong, loved, courageous in who I am? And so if you're ego authority, it's kind of the same as the mental, where you have to talk through the I am. I'm will defined, so I talk about I am this, I am that, I. That's okay. It's not selfish. So many people think that, oh, I'm talking about myself all the time. I sound so selfish. That is how you're designed. You're designed to love who you are, to be proud, to be proud, to love who you are. The more that you love who you are, the more other people you're going to attract through your monopole experiences to experience more ways to love yourself. Mm-hmm. But it's through connecting and loving yourself for who you are, through, of course, the deconditioning work of really figuring it out, or really connecting to, experimenting with who you really are. Mm-hmm. And being okay with saying, I am this, I am that, I. It's okay. It's 100% okay. Own that.
Yes, absolutely. And the one last thing I will add of my knowledge of that is also, you want to check in with the will center. You have the energy for whatever that, that decision you're processing. Yes. Does your will center have the energy? As Tammy explained before, the will center, ego, heart, whatever terminology you want to use with it, use for it is push, push, glide, right? Work, work, rest. Like it's a work to rest motor. And if you use your will authority to push through, to keep going, but it is just gets depleted, and it is real, because you need to recover. And and the more you burn it out, the more you need to recover. So, absolutely, that's another thing to check in with your ego authority, with your will authority is, do I have the energy for this?
Yes.
And it could be, I don't have the energy now, but this piques my interest. So maybe when I'm rested and my will is back, and it's on, maybe go for it. So definitely want
There's a sense of self-preservation in burning out your will center to a wrong invitation, I think. Because, we never repel. We don't repel, but we do block. So we're going to block situations in our life if we don't have the energy to respond, or to, to if it doesn't light you up, or if you've worked too hard mentally, physically, whatever. It's like the magnet's not going to pull in those experiences. It's going to pull in the opposite experiences that you don't want to experience, because either way, your heart is always pulling in stuff. It's what it is that you're attracting in your life, consciously or unconsciously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.